Shalom. So we are doing Genesis 30 tonight. Now, when Rachel, or Rachel, saw that she bore Jacob no children, Yaakov, Rachel envied her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children or else I die." When Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, she became jealous of her sister. So she said to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." But and Rachel saw that she had not borne any children to Jacob, and Rachel envied her sister, and she said to Jacob, "Give me children, and if not, I am dead." Um, and well, slightly interesting, Rashi. Uh, from here we learn that whoever has no children is counted among the dead, and that is something that is said a lot in rabbinic Judaism. Um, yeah. Okay. Vater. Excuse me. Vater Rachel כי לא ילדה ליעקב, ותקנא רחל באחותה, ותאמר אל יעקב, הבה לי בנים, ואם אין מתה אנוכי. So the language is actually kind of interesting here. So vatere, the root is resh aleph hey. The beginning tough is because it's in the feminine, which is why we don't usually see it that way. Um, Usually we see vayira, right? So because that's masculine. Rachel ki, so that conjunction, because that lo yalda, she did not give birth, right? So again, a yeled, whether that is they put the root vav lamed daled, no yud daled lamed daled. Whether that is a two-letter root or a three-letter root, that's a whole discussion. Le Yaakov, right? To Yaakov. Vatekane. So kof nun aleph can be jealousy or zealousness. to be jealous or zealous, from kina. And you can use your concordance there if you want to look at that particular word. Rachel ba'achotah. So there's a hey dagesh in the hey that means it is aspirated to say her sister. Um, Obviously, achot is feminine, um, singular. Achayot would be plural. I did expect a vav there, but again, Vatomer, and she said, El Yaakov to Yaakov. That's preposition with aleph. Hava. So this is the command form of hav. Hov. Yahav. Yud Hey Bet. Yeah, I guess to give. So typically we say that the word ahava, aleph, hey, bet, is related to um, uh, it's related to love, because we say love in Hebrew means to give, to want to give. Yeah, so hava, give, li vanim, and the only difference between vanim and banim is the cancellations and where it is in the sentence. So depending on where bet shows up in a sentence, it can change from bet to vet, and that's what's called a dagesh call. Doesn't change the meaning; it just changes how the word is said. Ve'im ayin. So and if not, so that is what it means. Ve'im ayin means if not. The only thing is, it is kind of poetic. So ve'im ayin meta anochi is clearly translated too, and if not, I would die, or I am dead. Yeah, it is the participle. It's in the present tense, but and anochi is the more formal way of speaking the pronoun first person common singular. Um, it's a poetic way of speaking. She's speaking here, which doesn't really. I don't know how you would translate that. Okay, verse 2. And Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" Jacob became angry with her and said, "Am I in the place of God, who has kept you from having children?" And Jacob became angry with Rachel, and he said, "Am I instead of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" Not going to do the Rashis. Vayichar af Yaakov berachel vayomer hatachat Elokim anochi asher mana mimech pri baten. So, charon af literally means nose flared, right? Af is really, I mean, both vayichar and af are used as anger. Af means nostrils, right? And so it's, I mean, this is used a lot in the Bible to to talk about anger. Yaakov berachel, right? Prepositional bet. He became angry regarding, against, with Vayomer, and he said, "Ha tachat." So the hey at the beginning is an interrogatory, turns it into a question, right? And tachat literally means under, but here obviously it means instead of, in the place of. um, famous eye for an eye is shen tachat. Ayin tachat ayin, right? Shen tachat en, eye for an eye. Tooth for a tooth. Elohim, that is a particular name. One of the more common names of God. Anochi, again, the more formal way of saying I. It's not found in modern Hebrew. Asher mana. So asher is the pronoun relative who or that. Um, Mana, mem nun ayin, means to stop, means to withhold, hold back. Yeah. Arabic, Sabian, Aramaic. Yeah, it's used quite a bit, it seems. 29 times in the Bible. Uh, only 3 times in the Torah. Yeah, to withhold, hold back. Mimech, so that's the feminine from you, right? Mimech, from you. Male would be mimecha. Pre-vaten. So, um, pre is fruit. Um, part is it part? Perot is pre is the singular. Perot is the from para, to be fruitful. Yeah, pre. Yeah, it's it's the singular of fruit. Perot is the plural, and it's in a construct form with beten, which is the abdomen or belly in modern Hebrew. Um, Pre-beten, right, is obviously fruit of the womb. I guess you would translate it as, or a child, right? This is what construct chains do: is use two or more known terms to um, uh, uh, to describe something new. Sorry about that. Okay. 3. So she said, "Here is my maid Bilhah. Go in to her, and she will bear a child on my knee, that I may be built up by her, children by her." Then she said, "Here is Bilhah, my servant. Sleep with her, so that she can bear children for me, and I too can build a family through her." So she said, "Here is my maidservant Bilhah. Come to her, and she will bear children on my knees, so that I too will be built up from her." I'm not going to do Rashi's. He's bringing from Genesis Rabbah. Vatomer hine amati Bilhah bo eleha veteled al birkai. Ve'ibane, interesting way of gam anochi mimena. So Vatomer, she said, "Hine," I usually translate as "behold, here is," right? It's an interjection. Amati, my female slave, my maidservant. Ama is a female slave, as opposed to Eved is a male slave, and Amati is my slave, my maidservant. Bilha is her name. Bo eleha. So bo literally means to come. So and here it's in a command form. Bo, come. Eleha, the preposition with aleph. Vateled al birkai, and she will give birth, right? Again, this is the Yeled, right? In the feminine. Um, upon my knees, Birkai, right? Berach. Um, it is related to the same root as blessing. Um, that is the preposition with the ayin. So upon my knees, my yeah, ve'ibane. So this is the nifal of bet nun hey, which means to build. Nifal is the passive. I shall be built. Well, uh, this is also the conjunctive. There's a vav at the beginning, so probably I would probably translate it so that I may be built up. And I will. And obviously, there is kind of the double language of ben of child. Uh, Gam anochi mimena, also me from her. And this is the more plural, more the more formal way of saying I. Mimena, from through her, by her. Verse 4. Then she gave him Bilhah, her maid, as wife, and Jacob went into her. So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife. Jacob slept with her. So she gave him her maidservant Bilhah for a wife, and Jacob came to her. Vatiten lo et Bilhah shifchata leisha, vayavo eleha Yaakov. So Titen, she gave to him Bilha, there's the direct object marker there. Shifchata, again with an aspirated hey, her shifcha. Shifcha is another way of saying ama, right? Is a female servant. It's a different word. I mean, um, not exactly sure if there is much of a difference between an ama and a shifcha. Let's see. Shifcha, originally concubine. Synonym ama they have. Compare absolute shifcha. Yeah. So they're also not sure why it's one. I guess shifcha is more of a. Oh, maybe from the same root as mishpacha. I never thought of that. Interesting. Interesting. I did not read. I did not even think of that. Huh. Mishpacha means family. Um, Interesting. I had never thought of that before. Leisha, as a wife, vayavo aleha, and he came to her. This is preposition with the aleph. Um, Yaakov. Okay, next verse. And Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son, and she became pregnant and bore him a son. And Bilhah conceived and she bore him a son. Vatahar Bilhah v'teled leYaakov ben. Very simple sentence. Tahar is to become pregnant. Yeah, tough. Hey, Rish. Bilhah v'teled, and she gave birth to a son to Yaakov. LeYaakov ben. Pretty simple sentence. Okay. Then Rachel said, God has judged my case, and he has also heard my voice and given me a son. Therefore, she called his name Dan, literally judge. No, Dayan is is judge. Dan is the verb to judge. Um, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure. Is it Daled Nun? Not sure. We'll take a look. Then Rachel said, God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea and given me a son. Because of this, she named him Dan. Dan here means he has vindicated. Okay. Um, and Rachel said, God has judged me, and he has also hearkened to my voice and has given me a son. So she named him Dan. Um, Interesting, Rashi. Uh, Danani v'chayavani v'zakani. So he judged me, he found me guilty, and then he declared me innocent. Interesting Rashi there from the Genesis Midrash Rabbah. Okay. Vatomer Rachel, Danani, right? Elokim, v'gam shema bekoli, vayiten li ben, al ken kara shemo dan. So, yeah, I don't like the English translations, really. Because there is that thing of he has judged me guilty. It does seem kind of like so. Vatomer, and she said that's the less intensive way of speaking. Rachel, Danani, right? Ladun, Dalad Vav Nun. No, Dalad Yud Nun is to judge. Yeah, that's how it becomes Dayan, is a judge. So primitive roots used a lot of times. 100, no, sorry, 24 times in the Bible. Um, or it might be Dalad Vav Nun, verb dubious, which one it is. Compare Arabic to be obedient and submissive. I did not realize that. Din in Aramaic is judgment. Okay, so Dan means judged. It's the perfect. It's the completed action. Danani means judged me. Elokim, right? God. Vegam shama bekoli. I would almost want to translate that as, but he also heard me, heard my voice. Um, it does seem to have a kind of meaning of it does seem to have a kind of meaning of God had mercy, right? Heard her and had mercy upon her. Yeah, listened to my voice. And kol is sometimes written with a vav, sometimes. Vayiten li, and he gave me uh, ben al a son. Alken, alken means therefore because of this. Kara, she called, right? Kufrish Aleph Shemo Dan. His name Dan. Literally did judge, I guess. Okay. Verse 7. And Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. And Bilhah, Rachel's maidservant, conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. V'tahar od v'teled Bilhah shifchat Rachel ben sheni leYaakov. So v'tahar od, she became pregnant again. V'teled Bilhah shifchat Rachel. We've had all these words. Ben sheni, a second son. Um, Yeah, this is the ordinal version of um, Shnayim, two. Le Yaakov, for Jacob, or to Jacob. Then Rachel said, with great wrestlings, or wrestlings of God, I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed. So she called his name Naphtali, my wrestlings. Hmm. Then Jacob said, I have had a great struggle with my sister, and I have won. So she named him Naphtali. Naphtali means my struggle. Okay, I didn't realize that, or remember that. And Rachel said, with divine bonds I have joined to my sister, I have also prevailed. So she named him Naphtali. Interesting. Um, so Rashi is saying that Petil. Well, let's look at the Hebrew, and we might come back to the Rashi's. Vatomer Rachel, Naftule Elokim Niftalti. Interesting. Im achoti, gam yacholti, vetikra shemo Naftali. So, what exactly this word means? Vatomer Rachel, right? So she said, Naftule Elokim. So they're translating it as great. Um, they're they're translating the name of God as great here. Yeah, that's interesting. So Naftule, Naftul wrestling from Patal. So they're saying Niftalim in Job, cunning. Let's see what they're saying. To twist patil. Well, a patil is a wick. To twist, crooked, cunning. Arabic, Ethiopic means to twist. Syriac. hmm. Show self forward. Show self unsavory wrestle. A primitive root to twine, literally to struggle, or figuratively to be morally tortuous. Show self unsavory wrestle. Okay, let's look at the Rashis here. Naftule Elokim. So, the root is pei tough lamed, which, yeah, I guess would be twisting, and naftule, wrestlings of God, wrestlings with God. I'm not sure why they decided to go with great, um, for the name of God there. I would not do that. Let's see what Rashi has to say, and they did. So they translated it as divine. So Hebrew Naftulei Elohim, Menachem ben Saruk. So this is the Menachem that Rashi talks about a lot. He was one of the Geonim. Classified it in the groupings of Numbers 19:15, a cover bound, Petil, with bonds from the omnipresent. I have joined my sister to merit children. But I interpret it as an expression of perverse and crooked, Pitaltul, Deuteronomy 32:5. I've stubbornly pleaded my many tortuous pleas. So, Pitaltul in Deuteronomy 32:5. Do they bring it here? They don't. Let's look at Deuteronomy 32. Paltul. Tortuous. From Patal. Shichet lo banav mumam dor ikesh vepetaltu. Interesting. Yeah, I guess patil means to twist. I guess you could say bind together. Yeah, I don't know how you would translate this. Um, and then late, uh, Elokim niftalti im achoti. He yielded to my importunities. Onkelos, however, rendered it as an expression of prayer, tefillah. So let's look at what he has to say. We are on Genesis 38. So Onkelos 38. Va'ameret Rachel kabil havaya ba'uti be'itchananoti bitzloti hamedat dihe li velad achati af it yehiv li ukarat shema Naphtali. Wow. So he's doing tefillah, which is prayer. That's what how Onkelos translates it. I don't know how you would translate this honestly. Naftule Elokim, and yeah, I mean Onkelos translates that with Havaya, right? The Tetragrammaton. Uh, Niftalti im achoti. I don't know how you're going to translate this at all. Um, and to translate it just as great, not even mention that it's the word Elohim there. Um, yeah. So nif, niftalti. So I twisted with my sister, wrestled, prayed with my sister. Gam Yaholti. So Yaholti is a lot easier. Yud Chaf Lamed is to be able to. I kind of expected above there, but it doesn't always take it. Um, so it's not so strange, but and I was able to, or I prevailed. Um, Vitikra Shemo Naphtali, and she called him Naphtali. Might be why I couldn't remember where Naphtali comes from. I mean, Petil as twist makes sense. Onkelos Tefillah. That's this. That's kind of hard. Hey, Edwin, how you doing? Um, yeah, I don't know how you would translate this. It is what it is. 9. When Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob as wife. When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took her servant Zilpah um, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. When Leah saw that she had stopped bearing children, she took her maidservant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob for a wife. ותראה לאה כי עמדה מלדת ותיקח את זלפה שפחתה ותיתן אותה ליעקב לאישה. So ותראה, and she saw Leah ki amda. So ayin mem dalid is to stand literally. La mod, to stand. But here, I mean, yeah, it does mean to stop. But literally it means to stand. Miledet, from giving birth, right? Ledet. Again, we have that, whether it's 2 root or 3 root. Vetikach et Zilpah shifchata, and she took Zilpah, her, I guess maybe shifcha should be translated as concubine, since, yeah, it makes sense that it is related to mishpacha, meaning family, and the hey is aspirated, meaning her shifcha. Vatiten otah, and gave her, again the aspirated hey with the dagash. Ota is the direct object marker. Ita would be the with, would be the preposition with. LeYaakov leisha, to Jacob as a wife. Pretty simple stuff. Verse 10. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. And Zilpah, Leah's maid servant, bore Jacob a son. I am not going to do that long Rashi. Vateled Zilpah shifchat Leah leYaakov ben. Although I do wonder what Rashi saw here to say that. Okay, I'm going to read those for Rashi because I was wondering why he decided to mention it. In the case of all of them, all of Jacob's wives, conception is mentored. Like it says Tahar. Except for Zilpah, because she was the youngest of them all and so young in years that her pregnancy was not noticed. In order to deceive Jacob, Laban gave her to Leah so that he would not perceive that, okay, that's from a Midrash Rabbah. Yeah. Interesting. That's the one place where it's not mentioned. Yeah, I mean, otherwise it's a very simple sentence. Okay. Verse 11. Come on, go away. Why won't this go away? I am going to. Okay, where were we? 11. Then Leah said, a troop. So with Qumran, Syriac, Targum, Alexa, Vulgate, in fortune, a troop comes. So she called his name God, troop or fortune. Then Leah said, what a good fortune, a troop is coming. So she named him God. God meaning good fortune or troop. And Leah said, luck has come, so she named him God. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, we'll look at the Hebrew. I think we'll come back to the Rashi. So there is a difference between the Kativ and the Kri here. So Vatomer Leah said, and it's written just the 3 letters Bet Gimel Daled, which normally you would say Beged is actually clothing. And Actually, I think boged means to be treacherous, but um, that's not how we read it. We read it ba God, and that's why there's the difference between. And they put it k there for kativ, right, with a chaf, right, written, and kri with a kufresh, right, aleph or kudra. I guess it is Aramaic. Yeah, I think it's Aramaic. Kri, how it's read is ba God. So right, ba God, God. So God, whatever the word God means, um, and obviously it doesn't mean God in Hebrew. It just sounds like it. Ba came. So we'll take a look at the thing. Vetikra et shamo God, and so she called his name God. Interesting. So let's look at what Rashi says. Okay. Um, Hebrew, good luck has come. Targum Yonatan ben Uziel, similar. I'm not sure that this is right because there's no Targum Unkala, Yonatan ben Uziel on the Torah. Oh, on Isaiah. So he translates Gad Gedi. May my fate be lucky, not fatigued. Um, and similar to this, Ha'orchim Lagada Shulchan. Isaiah 65:11. Let's take a look at that. 65. ואתם עוזבי הוויה השכחים את הר קודשי, העורכים לגד שולחן, והממלאים למיני ממסך. Hmm. Not sure where Rashi's getting a meaning for God there. According to the Agadah, Midrash Agadah, he was born circumcised. God. Hmm. Like Daniel 4:11 cut down the tree Godu. But I do not know why it is written as one word Bagad. Right? It's how it is written. Another explanation, why is it read as one word? Bagad is like Bagad Bagadati B. You betrayed me. Right, Boged is to betray. Um, when you became my handmaid as a man who has betrayed the wife of his youth. So he's darshaning the fact that it's written differently than how we say it. Let's see what they have to say here in the concordance and stuff. Perhaps of foreign origin, Arabic and Aramaic. The god of fortune in Arabic, named often in Phoenician and Aramaic inscriptions and found in Phoenician and Aramaic proper name. Oof, I have no idea what these. I'm guessing these are particular inscriptions and stuff. See especially. Uh, and they also bring Isaiah 65:11. Honestly, my first thought would be Gedi, which is also a kind of a loan word. It doesn't seem to be a Gedi is a um, kid, and it's one of the it's uh it's one of the 12 constellations. Yeah, Gedi. A kid, a young goat from Gada. Well, no, I guess if it's from Gada, that makes it Aramaic. I mean, uh, late Hebrew. Don't know what to tell you. It's a very short verse. Um, it has a difference between the Kativ and the Kri, and um, I'm not sure what how anybody is translating any of it. Uh, Apparently, the word God is used as lucky in the Talmud. And I have no clue how they're getting a meaning out of uh, Isaiah 65:11. Daniel 4:11. Well, that maybe. Let's take a look. קרא בחיל וכן אמר גודו Ilana v'katzitzu anfohi. So this is in the Aramaic of Daniel. Ataru ofye uvadaru inbe tenud cheveta min tachtohi v'tifraya min anfohi. Crying out loud, and so he said, cut down the trees and cut off its branches, shake off its branches and scatter its fruit. The beast shall wander away from beneath it, and the birds from its branches. Yeah. So Godu Ilana, right? And the Katsitsu Anfohi. So in Aramaic, Ilana means the tree, and Anfohi means Anafim is the branches. So given the parallel translations, um, I mean the there is that parallelism in Hebrew and Aramaic. So Godu can be understood to mean katsitsu, and katsats means to cut off. So Godu would mean to cut off. Hmm. Don't know what to tell you. It's a very difficult place uh, to come up with meanings, especially if you're going to try to take it from Aramaic. I mean, this is Genesis. It's very early writing to be taking Aramaic into it. So I don't know how you would translate God. Verse 12. Um, and Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Uh, Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. And Zilpah, Leah's maidservant, bore Jacob a second son. But Teled Zilpah Shifchat Leah ben Sheni LeYaakov. Very simple sentence. We've had all of these. maybe shifchat I would translate uh, as concubine. Um, Although, I mean, it is in a construct state with Leah. So hard to say her concubine, but yeah, pretty simple sentence otherwise. Okay, 13. Then Leah said, I am happy, for the daughters will call me blessed. So she called his name Asher, literally happy. Okay. And then Leah said, how happy am I am. The women will call me happy. So named him Asher, means happy. Um, and Leah said, because of my good fortune, for women have declared me fortunate. So she called him Asher. Okay, but Homer Leah, she said, Be'oshri ki ashruni banot vetikra et shamo Asher. Okay, so first thing, in Hebrew, there is Osher and then there's Osher. One of them is with an ayin, and the other one is with an aleph. And the one with aleph is used in Tehillim a lot, in Psalms. So like Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, happy are those who um, dwell in your house, right? Ashrei Ha'ish, fortunate is the man. So that's with an aleph. The other is Ashir, meaning rich. Um, and however you want to do that. So in Hebrew, they we when somebody's giving a blessing, they will often say, I wish you Osher ve'osher, right? Both types of Osher. Which obviously it's only in modern Hebrew that they sound so much alike. Some people know how to do the guttural ayin, so it would be Osher ve'osher. I don't do it very well. Okay, but she says Vatomer Leah, and she says Be'oshri. I am happy. Ooh, in my happiness, in my fortune. Yeah, it's. I mean, again, not sure how. Because of my good fortune. Okay, Be'oshri. Not sure how you translate that. Be'oshri. In my good fortune. Ki ishruni benot. So this is the PL, which is the intensive form of rejoicing, well, blessing, fortune. Ishruni banot, the daughters. I'm not sure how you translate this. I understand the words. Um, Ishruni. Let's see where else the PL is used. PL, perfect. Malachi 33:12. Ishru. Let's look at Malachi 3:12. ואישרו אתכם כל הגויים, כי תהיו אתם ארץ חפץ, אמר הוויה צבקות. Called you blessed, ואישרו. Hmm. Is there another one, PL? Genesis 30:13, which is the one we're doing. In the imperfect, Proverbs 4:14. באורח רשעים אל תבוא, ואל תאשר בדרך רעים. Do not walk. Ugh, I almost want to say do not praise the translation there. Proverbs 20. Oh, here, let's take a look at Malachi 3:15. Ve'ata anachnu me'ashrim zaydim. Gam nivnu osei risha. Part of the reason why me'ashrim is being used with resha is just the alliteration of letters. Gam bachanu Elokim v'imalvetu. Not sure what to tell you. Vetikra et shamo Asher. And she called it his name Asher. I mean, it's obviously related to fortune. Okay, 14. Now Reuven went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." And this is something that's that this whole thing here is there are allegorical explanations and all kinds of stuff. So during wheat harvest, Reuven went out in to the field and found some mandrake plants, which he brought to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." Reuben, or Reuven, went in the days of the wheat harvest, and he found dudaim. So they're not going to translate dudaim. Rashi says it's jasmine. In the field, and brought them to Leah, his mother. And Rachel said to Leah, "Now give me some of your son's dudaim." Okay. So, Vayelech Roven biyemei katsir chitim veyimtza dudaim basade veyave otam el Leah imo. Vatomer Rachel el Leah tinina li medudae benech. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So vayelech halach is to walk, to go. Roven biyemei ketzer chitim. So this is one long construct chain in the days of the harvest of the wheat. So ketzir is to harvest, chitim is wheat. So veyimtza, and he found, right? Mem tzadek aleph is to find. Matzati, right? I have found. Dudaim. However you want to do dudaim. They didn't translate it. I probably wouldn't either. Ba sadeh. So there is an article on the field. So in the field, ba sadeh, in the field. Vayave. So this is the causative of to come, is to bring. Otam, and he brought them el Leah, to Leah, preposition with the aleph. Imo, his mother. Vatomer Rachel el Leah, and so she said to Leah, preposition with aleph. Teni na. So teni is the command form of natan, to give. Noten, right? Latet. Na, I almost always translate as please. It is sometimes translated as now. It's an interjection. Li, to me, midudae, from the dudaim, whatever they are, of your son. And that's the feminine, right? Dudae benech. So Dudaim is in a construct form with ben, son, and benech is your son, feminine. Verse 15. But she said to her, is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he will lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. Interesting. And yes, like the Kabbalists go to town on this here. But she said to her, wasn't it enough that you took away my husband? Will you take my son's mandrakes too? Very well, Rachel said. He can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes. And she said to her, is it a small matter that you have taken my husband and that you wish also to take my son's dudaim? So Rachel said, therefore he shall sleep with you tonight as payment for your son's dudaim. Vatomer la, hama'at kachtech et ishi, ולקחת גם את דודאי בני, ותאמר רחל, לכן ישכב עמך הלילה תחת דודאי בנך. So Vatomer, she said to her, aspirated hay to her, right? Hama'at kachtech. So the hey at the beginning turns it into a question, interrogatory. Ma'at means a little. So is it little? Is it a little thing? Kachtech. You're taking et ishi, my husband. Velakachat. And you would take, yeah. I mean, it's in the infinitive. Not sure how you would translate that. Velakachat. And to take gam et dudae beni. Also the dudaim, whatever they are, of my son. Vatomer Rachel, so Rachel said to her, lachen, therefore, lachen, yishkav. So this is to lay down with, and it does have the same connotation in the Hebrew as it does in English. Imach, with you. Ha this night, right? Laila means night. Ha means this night, tonight. Tachat dudae benech. So tachat, like we had before, was instead of at the time of dudae benech, the dudaim of your son. Next verse. When Jacob came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. So Jacob came in from the fields that evening. Leah went out to meet him. You must sleep with me, she said. I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. So she slept with her. So he slept with her that night. When Jacob came from the field in the evening, and Leah came forth toward him, and she said, you shall come to me, because I have hired you with my son's dudaim. And he slept with her on that night. Vayavo Yaakov min hasadeh ba'erev, ותצא לאה לקראתו, ותאמר אלי תבוא, כי שכרתיך. Interesting. בדודאי בני, וישכב עמה, balayla hahi, balayla hu. Um, right. So, vayavo Yaakov comes, min hasadeh, from the field. Ba erev, there is an article in the vocalization there. So in the evening or that evening. Vatetse Leah. So Leah went out. Letzet is to Yetzia is to leave, to go out of, and yeah, again, lots of. I mean, there are allegorical teachings here which I don't myself understand very well, um, especially among the Kabbalists. Likrato, to greet him, and likrat is a particular kind of strange root in Hebrew. It has four letters. The aleph doesn't usually take a thing. It means to greet, to meet with, um, and it's just strange that way. Um, the root seems to be kuf resh aleph, to call, but it is what it is, likrat. Um, and it's not like you really ever end up using it. Well, they're saying here, yeah, they don't seem, it doesn't seem to have, yeah, from kara, to happen. Yeah, it's strange. It is very old, but it's also not very normal Semitic. And sometimes the most commonly used things tend to be the most irregular, like the verb to be. Vatomer Eli, tavo. So, and she said, Eli, preposition with the aleph, right, to me. Tavo, right, you will come. Um, it's in the imperfect. The vav there is kind of, yeah, it is written bemilui, and I would certainly consider darshaning that one. Ki sahor sacharticha. The root sin chaf resh means wages or rent, um, or hire, right? So I have surely the repetition is for emphasis. I have surely hired you. Yeah. Um, interesting. I have paid your wages. Bedudae beni, with the dudaim of my son. Veishkav ima, and so he lay um, with her, ima, aspirated hay again. Balayla hu, um, and obviously there's a Rashi there. I would have kind of expected it to be balayla hahu. I think in biblical Hebrew that's how it's done. There is an article on Lila. Not sure why it's not balayla hahu, that particular night, but it is that night. And Rashi darshans it, right? That God became a partner, and I'm sure the Kabbalists have much to say about that word. Okay, verse 17. And God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. God listened to Leah, and she became pregnant and bore Jacob a fifth son. And God hearkened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Vayishma Elokim el Leah v'tahar v'teled le'Yaakov ben Hamishi. So Yishma, right, heard, listened. I'm not sure why they decided to go with hearkened. Elokim, right, one of the names of God. El, with the preposition with Aleph. Leah, Vetahar, and she conceived. Vetaled, and she gave birth. Yaakov ben Hamishi, a fifth son. Pretty simple sentence there. 18. Leah said, God has given me my wages because I have given my maid to my husband. So she called his name Yisachar, which literally wages. Yeah, I guess. Yisachar, yeah. It's a very interesting name and a name a lot of people use. Then Leah said, God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband, so she named him Yisachar. Yisachar sounds like the root for reward or hire. And Leah said, God has given me my reward, for I have given my maidservant to my husband, so she named him Yisachar. Vatomer Leah, Natan Elokim schari, asher natati shifchati leishi, v'tikra shamo Yisachar. Okay. Vatomer Leah, and she said, Natan Elokim schari, right? God gave me my wage, just like in the previous one. She said, I have rented you or paid your wages to Yaakov. Asher natati shifchati, when I gave my concubine, leishi, to my husband, v'tikra shamo Yisachar, and she called him Yisachar. And anybody who's paying attention will notice there is that strange double sin, right? And that one doesn't even have a dagesh there. Very rarely is will people actually, I mean, I think so. There's a book, B'nai Yisachar, and sometimes people will say Yisachar. Generally, that sin is is silent, and it's the only time I can think of that a sin is silent. But in that name, basically everybody will say Yisachar, except for that one book, Yisachar. So, yeah. And obviously, the root there is from Sachar, which is wage or hire or reward. Okay, verse 19. Then Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. Leah conceived again and she bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah conceived again and she bore Jacob a sixth son. So what it turns out to be is Leah gives birth to six. Rachel gives birth to two. And I believe each Zilpah and Bilhah, each of them give birth to two. I think they give birth to the same number. We'll see. Okay. V'tahar od Leah v'teled ben Shishi leYaakov. We've had all of these words before. Od is b'milui with as it usually is. Shishi, sixth, right? Shisha is six. This is the ordinal. Okay, verse 20. And Leah said, God has endowed me with a good endowment. Now my husband will dwell with me because I have borne him six sons. So she named him Zevulun, literally dwelling. Okay. Then Leah said, God has presented me with a precious gift. This time my husband will treat me with honor because I have borne him six sons. So she named him Zevulun. Probably means honor, they say. Okay. And Leah said, God has given me a good portion. This time, my husband will live with me, for I have borne him 6 sons. So she named him Zevulun. Uh, hmm. Okay, let's take a look. Vatomer Leah, Zivadani Elokim, Oti Zeved Tov, Hapam Yizbeleni Ish Ishi, Ki Yaladati Lo Shisha Banim, V'tikra et Shamo Zavulun. So there's definitely the alliteration with Zavad and Yizbeleni. So Zavad, I am not sure what that word. It is the only time it's used in the Bible. Dowry. Sabian, proper name. Palmarine. Nivazbad. Zeved. In Aramaic, I think Zeved means to buy, doesn't it? Apparently, an explanation of see Zaval. Hmm. Zavadani Alakinati. Yeah, this root is Zayin Bet Dalid. And Rashi says Ketargomo, which means as the Targum. Let's take a look at the Targum. Verse 20. Va'amer Leat Yehav Havaya Yate has given me Li Chalak Tav Hadazimna, a good portion this time. Yehem Medore Devali Levati Arei Yeledet Leshita Benain Vikarat Yat Sheme Zevulun. So he's saying it means to give me a good portion. That's how Onkelos is translating it. And Zevel, so Zevadani, right? Whatever Zeved means, Elokim ed Zeved. I'm pretty sure this is the only time it's used. Yep, from Zavad. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they even bothered making it two different roots there. I'm trying to think. In Chronicles, Zavad, he has given Zabdi gifts. Oh, compare Arabic Zeved gift, my gift, Zavdiel. So that's actually, I mean, that's used 6 times, but these are names. Zavdiel. Zavadia. Zvuv is something else. Zabud. Huh. Zabud also. Zvul. Probably exalt or honor. Assyrian Zabalu. Compare Phoenician proper name. Balazbel. And Jezebel Isabel. To take up or carry connects with verbs from Syriac Sabal. Oh, compared to Sabal? Not sure. I'm really not sure what what to say of these words, and as far as I know, Zevel doesn't. Well, Zevel means trash in modern Hebrew. I'm not sure where that comes from though. Let's try here. Zevel, Zion. Why can't I find Zion? Zion. That's Lamed. Rubbish or garbage, manure. Huh. Apparently they have a different. Oh wow! They. Ooh, interesting. Ooh, I've discovered something new on this Palim site. Interesting. I might have to play with that. But let's not. So I just want to see what comes up. Oh, I love this. I'm gonna have to come back and play with this. Okay. Let's go back to Zevel. So Zevel in Hebrew, I mean modern Hebrew. I'm not sure where. Yeah, I think it does show up Zevel in mod in the Bible. Rule elevation lofty abode. I'm pretty sure Zevel does show up. Yeah, Zabal to dwell. No, that's something else. It's a rule. I wish it was possible to. Let me try one other thing. So Zion Bet Lamed in Tanakh. Beit Zvul. So on Shaol Mizbul as Bologna. Yeah, apparently it's modern Hebrew only. That it means rubbish. Um, which makes me wonder where it came from. Lebalot Shaol Mizvulo. Not sure. Okay. Let's go back to. Okay. not sure at all. Okay. So Zeved Tov, Hapam Yizbaleni, whatever Zeved means, I guess to raise up. Ishi, Ki Yaladati Lo Shishabanim, because I gave birth I to 6 sons, and she called him Zvul. Zvulun, I mean. Sorry. Okay, next verse. 21. Afterward, she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. So, like Dan, Dinah is the feminine, right? Judgment. Sometime later, she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. And afterward, she bore a daughter and she named her Dinah. Um, and not going to do the Rashi there. V'achar, okay. Yalda bat v'tikra et shema Dinah. So, v'achar, and afterwards? After what? I mean, that's a strange way of saying after. V'achar, and after some time, maybe if I was translating it, I would put time in brackets. Yalda bat, she gave birth to a daughter, v'tikrayat Shema, and she called her name, aspirated hey, Shema. Dina? And yeah, okay, 22. Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. Then God remembered Rachel, he listened to her, and enabled her to conceive. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and he opened her womb. Long Rashi there. Vayizkor Elokim et Rachel, vayishma eleha Elokim, vayiftach et rahmah. Okay, so Zachar means to. It's the root is Zain Chafresh to remember. So God remembered Rachel. Vayishma Aleha, and he listened to her. Preposition with Aleph. Elokim, right? God. Vayiftach Petach Chaf Het. Sorry, is Petach means opening. A door is also called a Petach. Et Rahma. So Rechem is now that's really womb. Um, it is also related to the word mercy. So Rahma with a dagash and an aspirated hey is her womb. Okay, 22. I mean 23. And she conceived and bore a son and said, God has taken away my reproach. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, God has taken away my disgrace. And she conceived and bore a son, and she said, God has taken away my reproach. We'll probably come back to the Rashi here. V'tahar v'teled ben v'tomer asaf Elokim et cherfati. Okay, so tahar v'teled, right? She conceived and bore ben v'tomer, and she said asaf. So Aleph Samech Bet Pei is to collect, to get together. Asif means to harvest. Um, so God collected, took away. We'll look at the Rashi. Et cherpati, my cherpa. Cherpa is reproach, insult. From haraf, to sharpen. Primarily to pull off by inclination, to expose, specifically to bedraw, as if a surrender, figuratively to carp at, defame, denominate to spend the winter. Horef, wow. Blaspheme, defy, jeopard, rail. Horef is wintertime. I did not realize that Horef had any relation with Herpa. Properly, the crop gathered, by implication, the autumn, winter season. Figuratively, ripeness of age. Betrothed. Hmm. Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, comment. The meaning is clear, right? God took away or collected or my charpa, my reproach, I guess is the word they keep on using it. Let's look at the Rashi. Hebrew Asaph, he took it into a place where it would not be seen. And similarly, Isaiah 4:1, take away Asaph, our reproach, Exodus 9:19, will not be taken. Yasef, the house. Asfu, Yoel 4:15, Isaiah 60:20, shall your moon be gathered in my reproach, Karpa. For I was put to shame, having been barren, and people were saying about me that I would fall to that she was supposed to marry Esav, and that's why she's not. As long as a woman has no child, she has no one to blame for her faults. Yeah, that's the Midrash Rabbah. As soon as she blames him, who broke this dish? Your child. Who ate these figs? Your child. Not very not very politically correct right there. Okay, 24. So she called his name Yosef, he will add, and said, the Lord will add to me another son. And Yosef, you'll see, I mean, so Yud Samech He means to add, can also mean to, Yasaf means to stop. Um, Saif in um, in Aramaic means a sword, and there, if you're gonna do the two-letter root thing, samach pei may be related to cutting, and that might be why it has so many meanings. Asaph and Yosef and all that. So, she named him Yosef, means he add, and said, may the Lord add to me another son. So she named him Yosef, saying, may the Lord grant me yet another son. Vatikra et shemo Yosef, Lamor Yosef Havaya li ben Acher. Very often quoted verse. So Vatikra, she called his name Yosef with a vav. Lamor saying Yosef without a vav. Havaya, this is the first time that the Tetragrammaton shows up in this chapter. Li ben Acher, and yes, people do try to darshan that. Another son, ben Acher. Yeah, like I said, Yud Samach Pei to add. 25. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Yosef that Yosef said to Lavan, send me away that I may go to my own place and to my country. After Rachel gave birth to Joseph or Yosef, Yaakov or Jacob said to Laban or Lavan, send me on my way so I can go back to my own homeland. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Yosef that Yaakov said to Lavan, "Send me away, and I will go to my place and to my land." Veyehi ka'asher yalda Rachel et Yosef, v'tomer Yaakov el Lavan, shalcheni ve'elcha el mekomi ula'artzi. Okay, Veyehi, and it was ka'asher, right? When Yalda Rachel et Yosef, Rachel gave birth to Yosef. Veyomer Yaakov El Lavan, preposition with Aleph. Shalcheni, Shin Lamed Het is to send to that so a shliach is an agent or an emissary. This is the same verb that's one of the verbs that's used in Genesis when God sends out the Adam and Eve, and also when it says stretch out your hand is shluach yad. So the elcha, so this is the cohortive, so that I may go. The root is holach, to go, to walk, right? El mekomi ula artzi. So preposition to Aleph, mekomi, my place, and like I've said many times before, makom is also how we refer to God in Hebrew. Ula artzi, and to my eretz, to my country or land. Yeah, not gonna do the Rashis. Okay, 26. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service which I have done for you. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and I will be on my way. You know how much work I've done for you. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have worked for you, and I will go, for you know my work which I have worked for you. Interesting Rashi, but I'm gonna leave it there. Tana et nashai ve'et yaladai asher avadeti otacha bahen ve'elecha ki ata yadata et avodati asher avadeticha. Interesting. Okay. So tana is the command form. I'm not sure why they're saying the hey there is third feminine singular. It's interesting that, Natan, the command form, should just be 10. I'm not sure why it's tana. Yeah, I'm just not sure. Does Rashi talk about that? I mean, doesn't explain it in any easy way. Okay. So Tana, why it's not 10, but it's Tana. I think they're confused and I'm confused as well. Et Nashai, so the direct object marker, my wives, right? Nashim is wives. Nashai is my wives. Ve'et Yaladai, and my children. Yalad is child. Yaladim is children. Yaladai is my children. Asher avadeti otcha. So this is the root to serve, to work. Ein bet daled can also be related to worship and service in the temple, or to work something, right? So like working leather to tan it can be avadeti. Anyway, bahen, which I'm a little surprised it's bahen because it's for them feminine. So when you're doing collective, you would do bahem because they're if he's referring to the children as well, but he's only referring to the wives, not to the children, which is interesting. Ve'alecha, and I will go. The hey at the end there's the cohortative, and you can't really say that that's what's going on with the command form there. So not sure, and I will go, right? So that I may go. Ki atat yedata, because you know, right? And ladat, that's another 2 letter or 3 letter root, depending how you want to do it. If it's yud dalad ayin or dalad ayin hey or just dalad ayin. Et avodati, right? Asher avaditicha, right? You know my service, which I have served you, right? Yeah, I mean, the repetition and alliteration is is the poetic form in the Hebrew. So 27. And Lavan said to him, "Please stay, if I may have found favor in your eyes, for I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for your sake." But Lavan said to him, "If I have found favor in your eyes, please stay. I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you." And Laban said to him, "If only I have now found favor in your eyes, I have divined, and the Lord has blessed me for your sake." Uh, Interesting. Well, let's take a look and see. Vayomer Elav, to him, Lavan, Im na matzati chen be'enecha, nachashti. That's why they translated it to divination. Interesting. Vivarcheni havaya biglalecha. Okay, so Vayomer Eliza to him, Prophet Aleph, Lavan, Im na matzati chen be'enecha. So im means if, na, so please, or sometimes translated as now, right? But imna matzati chen, right? I have found favor be'enecha. This is a common phrase in the Hebrew. So, I mean, it does show up in other places. It's a phrase. Imna matzati chen be'enecha. I have found, right? Matzia is something that's found, right? So to find. Chen, so is favor, usually is translated be'enecha, in your eyes. Nichashti, so nachash, nun het shin, observe signs. So nachash obviously is related to the word serpent. Divine by omens, be unlucky. Menachesh is a diviner. Yeah. Certainly, the divine enchanter use enchantments, primitive roots, properly to hiss, whisper a magic spell, prognosticate. Um, Obviously, it's related to the word nachash, meaning serpent. Nachash, divination, enchantment. Nechash. Well, so Nechash is copper or bronze, and Nachash is serpent. From an unused word, and we just said it's hiss. Sometimes I don't understand why um, things in the concordance, they say things that should be obviously related and they don't. They don't. Nichashti ve'yevarcheni havaya biglalecha. So nichashti, I have hissed or I have enchanted or divined, right? I have done sorcery. Ve'yevarcheni, and has blessed me havaya, right? So bet resh chaf is related to ni and bless. So ve'yevarcheni, blessed me havaya. Biglalech, because of you. And I mean, Gimel Lamed Lamed is related to around and to roll and waves and um, biglal something, right? Because of something for the sake of something. So very common thing, especially in modern Hebrew. Okay, 28. Then he said, "Name me your wages, and I will give it." He added, "Name your wages, and I will pay them." Then he said, "Specify your wages for me, and I will give them." Nakva, as the Targum renders, Paris egrech, specify your wages. So that's how. Vayomer nakva scharcha, alai ve'etena. So Vayomer, he said, nakva. So nekev means to pierce. Uh, I guess. I mean, kavua means set. So designate wages is here and in Isaiah 62 2. Rashi set is going according to the Targum. Avad Yaakov, where were we? 29. We're in the wrong chapter. 28. There we go. Va'amar Paresh. Explain. Um, yeah. I would probably translate it as set, but nakva scharcha, right? Like we've had wage several times this thing. Alai, preposition of the ayin, upon me. Ve'etena, and I will give it. I shall pay it. Yeah. The word nakva there as for schar is a little bit strange. I would have expected maybe kavia to set is keva is kuf bet ayin to to set something to be, yeah. Okay, 29. So Jacob said to him, "You know how I have served you and how your livestock has been with me." So Jacob said to him, "You know how I have worked for you and how your livestock has fared under my care." And he said to him, "You know how I have worked for you and how your livestock was with me." Um, Vayomer alav, ata yadata et asher avadeticha ve'et asher haya miknecha iti. So he said, alav with aleph, ata yadata, you know, right? It's the perfect, it's the completed action, right? Maybe I translate it, you have known. Et asher avadeticha, right? How I have served you. The et asher haya miknecha, and how, right? Et asher, right? Pronoun relative. Haya miknecha iti. So mikneh is livestock. Um, Literally, it means things that are sold or bought. Um, And et, so et as opposed to ot is not the direct object marker; it's the preposition with. Right? So Okay, verse 30. For what you had become, I came was little. Before I came was little, and it has increased to a great amount. The Lord has blessed you since, or at my foot, my coming. And now, when shall I also provide for my own house? Um, the little you had before I came has increased greatly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I have been. But now, when may I do something for my own household? For the little that you had before me has increased in multitude, and the Lord blessed you upon my arrival. But now, when will I too provide something for my household? Uh, not going to do the Rashis, hopefully. Ki ma'at asher haya lecha lefanai, v'yifrutz larov, v'yivarech Havaya, sorry, otcha leragli, ve'ata matai eseh gam anochi lebeiti. So ki ma'at, because ma'at means a little, right? There was a little. Asher haya lecha, the little that you had, lefanai, before me, right before I came. Vayifrutz larov. So parrots, peresh tzaddik, means to break out. And obviously here it means, I mean, vayifrutz larov, it spread out. Well, not peresh sin spread out. Parrots is to break, to break through. Used quite a bit. And obviously there's that song Ufaratzta, right? And you shall break out. I think we had that already. Ufaratzta, yeah. 2814 is a song that's used a lot. So Vayifrotz Larov, and it broke out to be great, right? Larov, to be a lot. Vayivarech Havaya, and God blessed you. Right? Otcha. So it's the direct object marker. Le ragli, literally to my legs or to my feet. I guess you could translate it to my coming. Rashi discusses why beragli, and he says Exodus 11:8 is similar. Judges 8:5, or is that? Yeah, Judges 8:5. Shoftim. I was wondering Jud. To the people that follow me. Right. Okay. Ve'ata, and now. Et means time. Ata means now. Matai, question when. Ese, shall I do. Ein sin he. Gam anochi, also I, the formal I. Lebeiti, for my house, for my own house, my household, maybe. Okay, 31. So he said, what shall I give you? And Jacob said, you shall not give me anything. If you will do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep your flocks. What shall I give you? He asked. Don't give me anything, Jacob replied. But if you will do this one thing for me, I will go on tending your flocks and watching over them. And he said, what shall I give you? And Jacob said, you shall give me nothing. If you do this thing for me, I will return, I will pasture your flocks, and I will watch them. Vayomer ma eten lach. Vayomer Yaakov, lo titen li me'uma. Im תעשה לי הדבר הזה. אשובה אראה צונך אשמור. Interesting. Okay. So Vayomer ma eten. He said, "What should I give?" Right? Ma eten is question word. Eten, imperfect of to give. Lach, and this is the feminine, and the reason it switches from lecha to lach is because in of the cancellation marks, and what you want to do where that happens is up to you. Vayomer Yaakov lo titen li me'uma. And so Yaakov says, "Don't give me lo titen li me'uma, anything, nothing." I don't know how many times me'uma shows up. It shows up quite a bit, actually. Yeah, 32 times in the Bible. So pretty clear what it means. Im ta'aseh, if you will do, im ta'aseh li hadavar, for me, this thing, hadavar, this thing, right? It has the article, so the thing, this thing, hazeh, very particularly this particular thing. So hadavar hazeh. Ashuva, so I will return, right? Lashuv, ashuva, I will return. Er'eh, I will be a shepherd. Feed, okay. Er'eh. Tzoncha eshmor. So tzon means flock, usually small animals. Eshmor, I will keep. Shin mem resh. Ashuva is written bemilui. Eshmor is written bechisaron, which is normal, and tzoncha is bechisaron, which is normal. If you're paying attention to that stuff. It is a little bit strange. Ashuva er'eh. I'm not sure if it's er'eh tzoncha. I will be a shepherd to your flocks. Eshmor, and I will keep. It's a strange way of saying, and Rashi doesn't say anything. It is the. I would have expected the tzoncha just to be at the end, right? Ashuva er'eh eshmor ve'eshmor tzoncha. That's what I would have expected. It is flipped, kind of. Okay. 32. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from there all the speckled and spotted sheep, and all the brown ones among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and these shall be my wages. Okay, let me go through all your flocks today and remove from them every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark colored lamb, and every spotted or speckled goat. They will be my wages. I will pass through all your flocks today, removing from there every speckled and spotted kid, and every brown lamb among the sheep, and every spotted and speckled one from among the goats, and this shall be my wages. And yes, this is one of the places where the scientific stuff goes wild. Okay. אעבור בכל צונך היום, הסר משם כל שא נקוד ותלו, וכל שחום בכבשים ותלו ונקוד בעזים, והיה שכרי. So, okay. So, e'evor, ein betresh, is to pass over. Right? There's no vav there. And ivri, right? Hebrew comes from the same to pass, right? To go through. Bechol tzoncha, throughout all of your small animals, tzoncha, right? Hayom, today, right? Yom is day. Hayom is today. Haser, it means to remove. This is the hefil of samech vav resh. Um, yeah. So sur means to turn, and haser means to cause to turn. So remove. Um, but haser means remove. Uh, Misham, from there. Kol se, any se, a sheep, right? Se. Um, nakod. So speckled nikud is we actually refer to the cantillation and vocalization marks as nikud, right? Dots is nikud. I think it comes from uh, they say an unused word. Not sure. I mean, noked, sheep razor. Yeah, nikud. Perhaps what is crumbled or easily crumbled, crumbs. Um, Cakes or crumbs. I think that's where we get the word nikud from. So spotted makes sense. Vetalu. So talu, I am not. Um, Het lamed aleph, to patch or spot. So that's in this right here. In Joshua, metulaot, patched sandals. Uh, Ezekiel 16, bamot telawot, flouted with diverse colors, spotted, a primitive properly to cover with pieces, by implication to spot variegate as tapestry, flouted with diverse colors, spotted. Hmm, seems it's only in the Hebrew. Okay, so spotted. Okay, the whole sehum. So hum means brown. No, thank you. Um, I don't know how many times hum is used in the Bible. Only 4 times. Dark, yeah. Black, darkened, dark brown. But kevasim, so in the keves is lambs, kevasim. Mm, yeah, a lamb. Uncertain derivation. Oh, battering ram. Probably a loan word. Okay, keves. Um, but kevasim. V'talu v'nakud ba'izim v'hayaschari. So, and the speckled and the talu, spotted and speckled. It's the other way around, right? Talu v'nakod. Ba'izim, and ez is a goat. Right? V'hayaschari, and that shall be my wages. Uh, Interesting. So all the grown sheep that are spotted and speckled, all the lambs that are brown or dark, and all the goats that are spotted and speckled. Okay, next verse. So Rashi's explaining these things. Okay, 33. So my righteousness will answer for me in time to come, when the subject of my wages comes before you, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the lambs, will be considered stolen if it is with me. So it's clear which ones are his and which ones are not his. So all the white ones, I guess. And my honesty will testify for me in the future whenever you check on the wages you have paid me. Any goat in my possession that is not spotted or st- speckled or spotted, or any lamb that is not dark colored will be considered stolen. And my righteousness will testify for me at a future date, for it will come upon my wages before you, whatever is not speckled or spotted among the goats or brown among the sheep shall be counted as stolen with me. Ve'anta bi tzidkati beyom mahar ki tavo al schari lefanecha kol asher einenu nakod vetalu ba'izim v'chum ba'kevasim ganuv hu iti. Okay, all the words are clear. So anta, right, shall answer sitka. So ein nun hey is to answer. So will answer for me anta bi sitkati. So tzedek is righteousness, right? A tzaddik is a righteous person. Sitkati, my righteousness. Beyom mahar. So literally in the day tomorrow, or the time to come, right? Beyom machar. Kitavo al schari, when you will come regarding my wages. And tavo is written bemilui. Um, yeah, will come regarding wages. Preposition of ayin, schar. We've had a lot in this chapter. Lefanecha, before you. Skari lefanecha, right? When you're gonna talk about my thing, it'll be clear. Kol asher einenu nakod vetalu, all which is not einenu, right? It is not einenu. Um, nakod vetalu, like we spoke of. Ba'izim, among the goats. Right? There is the article there in the thing. V'chum ba'kevasim, and dark among the lambs. There is the article in the vocalization. Ganuv hu iti. So there's two types of stealing in the Bible. There's geneva and there's gezela. Um, geneva is considered mugging or stealing with force against the person, whereas gezel is more stealing just property. Um, and this is Ganuv, Gimel Nun Bet, and it's written in Be Milui, which is a little um, interesting. The pronoun is being used as the verb to be, and et is the preposition with me as opposed to oti. Okay, 34. And Lavan said, "Oh, that is it were according to your word." Agreed, said Lavan, "let it be as you have said." And Lavan said, "Very well, if only it would be as you say." 34. Vayomer Lavan, hen lu yehi kidvarecha. So Lavan said, hen. So it's the interjection. Hine is usually behold, hen, also kind of, right? Oh, lu yehi. So that it were, I wish it were, it should be. I mean, Lu. These are interjections, which is hard to translate. Yehi. I mean, imperfect jussive. They're saying, okay. Kidvarecha, like what you say, like your words. Okay. Next verse. 35. So he removed that day the male goats that were speckled and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had some white in it, and all the brown ones among the lambs, and gave them into the hand of his sons. That same day he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled or spotted female goats, all that had white on them, and all the dark colored lambs, and he placed them in the care of his sons. And he removed on that day the ringed and the spotted male goats, and all the speckled and spotted female goats, whichever had white on it, and all the brown from among the sheep, and he gave them into the hands of his sons. Uh, okay. Vayasar bayom hahu et hateyashim ha'akudim v'hataluim ve'et kol ha'izim ha'nekudot v'hateluim kol asher lavan bo v'chol hum b'kevasim v'yiten beyad banav. Now, one thing I want to point out is his name is Lavan, which means white, which is being used here as part of the coloring, right? V'yasar, we had this is the hefil of to turn, right? Sur, so to remove. Bayom hahu, on that day, right? There's the article in the vocalization. Et hateyashim. So apparently, teyash is a male goat. Yeah, it's used 4 times in the Bible. Meaning to butt, a buck or he goat. So teyash is apparently males. Ha'akudim v'hataluim. So akud, we haven't had akud. It's like a nekud, but it's with an ayin and not with a nun. So this is striped. And this is why the other ones, I mean, they had translated a little bit differently. Yeah, as opposed to, we were talking about nekudot, right? Which were spotted before, and now this is akud with an ayin. Apparently, that means only used in the Bible, really, in these 2 chapters. Akud. Akad, like the akedah, means to bind, right? It's the binding of Isaac is akedat Yitzchak. So yeah, akudim, that word. Striped, probably striped is how I would put it. Vehataluim. So before the talu had a vav in it, but it's still the same taluim, right? But now it's written bechisaron. Vet kol ha'izim ha'nekudot vehataluim, and now we went back to nekudot, right? So izim are the goats. Not sure why it says particularly female goats, and ez can be either one, and izim would make me want to say, well, they're saying ez is a female goat specifically. Is it? Izim, food she goats. Huh. Okay. Apparently an ez is a female. As strong, but masculine and plural for goat's hair. Okay. Apparently it is female, is izim. I didn't realize izim was female. I guess so many places we just translate it as goats and don't necessarily say she goats, but apparently it is female. Okay. I guess ha nekudot, and okay, so nekudot is in the feminine, so the hateluot. And the nikud here, the chaser and malay is interesting if you're paying attention to it. But so we went back from akud, right, ayin kuf daled, to nekud nun kuf daled, and teluim, again without a vav, teluot. But these are in the feminine, so that's izim. That's why it's saying female goats, which makes sense. Okay, kol asher lavan bo, all that had white in it. Now notice his name Laban is showing up there. right? V'chol chum b'kevasim, and anything that was dark or brown in the kevasim lambs. Ve'yitan biyad banav, and he gave them to the hands of his sons. And Rashi here is saying Lavan's sons. I'm not sure how he knows exactly that it's Lavan's sons, maybe from the context coming up, because they seem to be saying that it's Jacob's sons. Not sure. Okay, let's see. 36. Then he put 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob. Oh, that's why it's Lavan. And Jacob fed the rest of Lavan's flocks. Then he put a 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend the rest of Lavan's flocks. And he set 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob tended Lavan's remaining animals. You can do the Rashis there if you want. V'yasar bayom hahu et hatiyashim. Did I just read this? Vayasem derech shloshet yamim beino uvein Yaakov. V'Yaakov ro'e et tzon Lavan hanotarot. Okay, so Vayasem, lasum, sin vav mem is to set or to put. Right? So, and he put. Derech shloshet yamim. This is one big construct. Derech is a road, literally, but a journey, right? Shloshet yamim, 3 days, and shloshet is written. I guess it's normal for it to be bechisaron. So 3 days journey, beino uvein Yaakov, between himself and between Yaakov. Right? That's just how you say it. Bain in Hebrew. Ve'Yaakov ro'eh et tzon Lavan. So, and Yaakov ro'eh, they're saying fed. It's in the participle. It's in the present tense, written bechisaron. I usually translate this as shepherd, right? Et tzon, right? The flock. They're saying flocks. Okay, however you want to do it. It's flocks of small animals. In contrast form with Lavan. So Lavan's flocks. Ha notarot. So, yeter yud taf resh is to remain. So yoter means more. Yeter, reserved, remainder. It's used quite a bit actually. 107 times in the Bible. So notar is the nifal of the participle. So it's in the present tense of the passive. What is left, right? Hanotarot, what is left. And you can look at the chisaron and male there if you like, right? Which were left over, right? Okay, 37. Now Jacob took for himself rods of green poplar and of the almond and chestnut trees, peeled white strips in them, and exposed the white which was in the rods. Just making sure how long is left. Okay, Jacob, however, took fresh cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees, and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. And Jacob took himself moist rods of trembling poplar and hazelnut. This is going to be really difficult. And chestnut, and he peeled white streaks upon them, bearing the white that was on the rods. Yeah, you can look at all the Rashis there. Okay. V'yikach lo Yaakov makal livne Lach valuz ve'ermon v'yipatzel bahen pitzalot levanot machshof halavan asher al hamaklot. Okay, going to be a difficult sentence. So Vayikach, and he took lo for himself, Yaakov. Makal is, they're saying branches. We usually translate it as a staff. Yeah, a rod or staff. Uncertain derivation. Okay, it's a rod or a staff. I'm not sure why. Well, makal livna. First of all, notice that livna, whatever type of tree it is, livne, sorry, um, it's it has the word white and lavan there. So poplar. Yeah, some sort of white tree. Not sure how you know exactly. But branch rods of livne. Lach valuz. So lach literally means wet. Fresh makes sense. Lose. Interesting. Lose almond tree, almond wood, and this is the only place. Hazel. Let's look what Rashi says. Lose. Lose. ועוד לקח מקל lose. עץ שגידלים בו אגוזים דקים. Coldra. Halaz. Hazelnuts, apparently. Whatever lose is. And Rashi's saying that it's that he took makal livnei lach and makal lose. Okay, and ermon, whatever ermon is. Plane tree? Probably from Aram. Okay. Let's see, from Aram. Crafty. Arum also, I believe, means naked. Let's go back to the constructor. I'm gonna have to look at their dictionary. That's the first time I've seen that. Ein Rish Mem. Heap, deceive, and naked. So, um, so Armon, whatever type tree that is, which may be related to crafty or naked or heap. Vayipatzel. I'm not sure what that means. Vayipatzel, petzel, to peel, and it's only used here. Jewish Aramaic Talmud Mitzal. Late Hebrew split or divide. Syriac Akanapatzal. If you want to do the two-letter root thing, putz means petzetz means to suicide bombers are called mitpotzetzim in Hebrew, modern Hebrew. People who make themselves explode. Patzal, yeah, not really sure. Vayipatzel bahen patzalot. So he patzal them patzalot, whatever that is. Stripes. Okay. Not sure how you know that. Yeah. Levanot, white. So notice the word lavan keeps on showing up here. Machshof. So cheshef, a laying bare or strip, hashaf, to strip or make bare. I'm pretty sure machashef is witchcraft, but let me check. Or is that kishuf? No, that's kishuf. That's with a chaf. Is um, witchcraft. Mm, hashaf. Well, it shows up several times, 11 times. So you can use your concordance there. Arum v'yachef v'chashufeshet ervat. Shof mayim magbe. Yeah, I guess strip makes sense from the other places it's used. Machshof halavan, stripping or exposing the white. Asher al hamaklot, which is preposition of the ayin upon the rods or branches. Okay, 38. And the rods which he had peeled, he set before the flocks in the gutters, in the watering troughs, where the flocks came to drink, so that they should conceive when they came to drink. Then he placed the peeled branches in all the watering troughs, so that they would be directly in front of the flocks when they came to drink. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, and he thrust the rods that he had peeled into the gutters in the water troughs, where the animals would come to drink opposite the other animals, and they would come into heat when they came to drink. This actually, there's a lot of apologetics and science and stuff around this particular part of the Bible. V'yitzag et hamakalot asher pitzel barhatim bishkatot hamayim asher tavona hatzon lishtot lenochach hatzon v'hamna bevoan lishtot. Okay. So vayitzak, latsug, I think, is to set. How many times is it used? 16 times. This is the first time in the Bible to set or place. Um, yeah. Tzadik Vav Gimel. Um, so he set, I guess, yeah. Et hamakalot, the rods or the branches. Asher pitzel, which he had peeled, right? Bar rehatim. Rehatim is troughs. This is the first time we've had it. It's only used 4 times. Yeah, gutter is to hollow out. I want to say rehitim. There are words. Yeah. Beshikatot bishikatot mayim. So the root here is shin kuf hey, or is it hey shin kuf? Shin kuf hey. Yeah, shaka means to give to drink, right? Like mashke, which is used a lot. So this is shikatot, things that give to drink. The drinking troughs, I guess. Hamaim, of the water. So it's in a construct form. Shikatot, things that give to drink. Um, Asher tavona, so pronoun relative. This the tavona is not used in modern Hebrew. It's only used in biblical Hebrew. Is the feminine third person, and that's why it sounds strange. Tavona. Um, Hatson, right? The flocks come. Female flocks come to drink. Um, Lishtot lenoch, to drink, right? Lishtot, the infinitive. Lenochach, literally against or in front of. Lenochach, Hatson. Veyechamna, so and they shall become heated, right? Whom uh, chamam, cham means hot. Um, they would conceive, they would go into heat. V'yichamna. Bevoan, when they come, the females come, lishtot, to drink. And we have lishtot over and over again. Which, yeah, is what it is. Next verse. 39. So the flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks brought forth streaked, speckled, and spotted. They mated in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. And the flocks came into heat by the rods, and the animals bore ringed, spotted, and striped young. Uh, Veyichamu hatzon el hamaklot, v'teladna hatzon akudim nekudim v'teluot. Teluim, sorry. So, Veyichamu, and they became hot, they conceived, right? Um, Hatson, the flock. El hamakalot. So this is the preposition with the aleph. Maklot, the branches, rods. Beteledna, again, this is the third person feminine, a plural. So gave birth. Gave birth. I don't know why it's brought forth. Hatson, akudim, nekudim, and tluim, like we spoke about before, right? So streaked, spotted, speckled, and spotted. I guess. However, you've been translating those three things. Akud is the one that has to do with binding, and nikud is the crumbs and tluim. Okay, 40. Then Jacob separated the lambs and made the flocks face toward the streaked and all the brown in the flock of Lavan. But he put his own flocks by themselves, and he did not put them with Lavan's flock. Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves, but made the rest face the streaked and colored animals that belonged to Lavan. Thus he made separate flocks for himself, and did not put them with Lavan's animals. And Jacob, yeah, separated the sheep, and he turned the faces of the animals towards the ringed ones and every brown one among Laban's animals, and he made himself flocks by himself, and he did not place them with Laban's animals. Hmm. I mean, you can read the Rashi. והכבשים הפריד יעקב, וייתן פני הצאן אל עקוד, וכל חום בצאן לבן, וישת לו Adarim levado, velo shatam al son lavan. Okay. Vahakevasim, so the lambs, the kevasim, he freed. Uh, Pei resh dalid means to separate. Um, and this is the he it's the causative. He caused to separate. Yaakov. Veiten penei hatzon, and he set, literally gave the faces. He turned them. Hatzon el akod. So this is the preposition with the aleph. Akod, again, like we said, the streak, having to do with binding. Akod, right? And is bechisaron. Kol v'chol hum batzon, and anything that was brown in the tzon, right? The flocks of small animals. Betzon Lavan, sorry, it's in the construct with Lavan, right? Of Laban. Um, Veyashet, he puts. Shet, yeah, Shin Yud Taf, to set or to put. Um, I mean, it's one of the less um, popular ways of. There are several ways of saying to put or to set, and this is one of the less popular ways. Not sure how it's very much different from the other ways of to put or to set. Let me see if they have a good reason this is different. Compare Phoenician, Syriac, quality or appearance. Hmm. Yeah, not sure how this is different from others to put or to set. Lasum, latet, lifnot, right? There's other ways of saying it. We had goats. Um, yeah. So vayeshet lo, and he put or he set adarim, right? Flocks. And there we've had before. Not this chapter, previous chapter. Levado, by themselves, by himself. Probably say by himself, levado. Not sure why it's adarim levado would be themselves. I would say himself. Velo shatam al tzon lavan, and he did not place them al, preposition of the ayin, tzon lavan, the flock of Lavan. 41. And it came to pass, whenever the stronger livestock conceived, that Jacob placed the rods before the eyes of the livestock in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the troughs in front of the animals so they would mate near the branches. Mm, yeah, not exactly sure what's going on here. Never paid too much attention, honestly, to this particular story. Um, and I was never really interested in how this was accomplished because, frankly, um, I'm fine with it being some sort of miracle. Um, and what he was doing, I'm not sure I know. And it came to pass that whenever the animals that were bearing their first would come into heat, Jacob would place the rods in the troughs before the eyes of the animals in order to bring them into heat by means of the rods. Sorry, we might come back to the Rashis. V'haya bechol yachem hatzon ha mekusharot. Interesting. Vesam Yaakov et hamaklot le'enei hatzon barhatim leyachmena b'makalot. Okay, so v'haya was bechol yachem hatzon. whenever the tzon, the livestock, the small livestock, conceived, were heated, yachem is literally heated, came into heat. Hamekusharot. So they're saying stronger. Kesher kuf shin resh a is attachment binding. Um, Not sure why they're translating it as stronger. We'll take a look at the Rashis. To bind, league together, conspire. So it's only twice used as stronger. Bind, join. I'm not sure why they're translating it here as stronger. Let's look at the Rashis. Hamekusharot. According to the Targum, that it was their first children. Ve'ein lo ed b'mikra lo chalav, and he doesn't give where he gets this. Menachem, however, associated with 2 Samuel 15:31, Achitophel is among the conspirators, and the conspiracy was strong. Those who bind themselves together to hasten their conception. That were in bands, maybe? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure what you do with that. I mean, the Targum is the first ones, and Menachem, Machberet is the name of what Menachem Saluk wrote that Rashi talks about a lot. Okay. So how you want to translate Mekusharot is up to you. I would probably translate it as banded. Okay, 42. But when the flocks were feeble, so they must have been thinking that whatever feeble is that it's against us. He did not put them in, so the feebler were Lavan's and the stronger Jacob's. Okay, well let's. Did I? I don't think I finished this. So that was Mekusharot. The Sam, and he placed right Yaakov at Hamakalot, the rods or branches, le'enei hatzon. So literally to the eyes, but in front of the eyes. Bar hatim, like you said, troughs. Mena to make them hot. Yeah, and notice that this does. I mean, home is dark and brown, and so the coloring thing is going on here in the Hebrew, which I don't see how you would even translate it. Bamakalot, with the branches in front of the branches. Okay, so 42. But when the flocks were feeble, he did not put them, so the feebler ones were thing. But if the animals were weak, he would not place them there. So the weak animals went to Laban, and the strong ones to Jacob. But if the animals would delay, he would not place them, so that the ones that delayed were Laban's, and the ones that bore their first became Jacob's. So again, this relates to how you translate the other one. So uvaha'atif hatzon lo yasim v'haya ha'atufim lelavan v'hakeshurim leYaakov. So atuf is being juxtaposed against kashur, and it's funny, but okay. So baha'atifam. So ayin tet pei is related to Atifa is how you envelop yourself, right? Leitatef betzitzit, right? To um, and it's I think in Jonah it's used to become weak or to faint. Um, yeah, if I remember, it was in Jonah. Uh, yeah, Jonah 2:7. So, I mean, kashur literally means bind, and atuf means to envelop. And yeah, I guess you could do strong and weak or early and late, the way the Targum seems to want to do it. How you want to do this juxtaposition, I honestly don't know how to tell you. Um, Personally, I might go with the binding and spread, inclined, bent. Yeah, bound and bent, maybe. It's a juxtaposition that I really don't know how you want to do it. So, ubah atif, right? The ones which were caused to be atif, however you're going to do that, hatzon, the flock, lo yasim, he didn't put it, right? He didn't set it. V'haya ha'atufim, right? However you want to do atufim, written bechisaron, lalavan, to Lavan, Laban, v'hakashurim leYakov, and however you want to do kashurim, also written bechisaron, belong to Yaakov. Don't know how you're going to do it. How you translate that. I really don't. Okay, this is the last verse of tonight. Thus the man became exceedingly prosperous and had large flocks, female and male servants, and camels and donkeys. I don't know how camels and donkeys got in there, but in this way the man grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks and female and male servants and camels and donkeys. And the man became exceedingly wealthy, and he had prolific animals and maidservants and manservants and camels and donkeys. Um, so let's look at the Hebrew. Vayifrotz ha'ish me'od me'od, ויהי לו צאן רבות ושפחות ועבדים ugamalim וחמורים. So again, this is the parrots to break out, right? Vayifrotz ha'ish, the man, me'od me'od, very very, right? Much much. Vayehilo, and it was for him, it belonged to him. Son rabot, many flocks of small animals. Ushfachot, and if you want to do maidservants, or again concubines, the avadim, and slaves or manservants, right? Eved, ugmalim, and camels, vechamorim, and donkeys. Yeah. So that is that. If anybody has any questions, I am going to hang around for another 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes. Otherwise, Safania 3:9, which keeps on crashing on me. Ki az epoch el amim safar bara likro hulam b'shem havaya le'ovdo Shechem echad. Because then God will turn over a new and pure language, a winnowed language for us, so that we may all call in the name of God, to serve Him with one accord, with one shoulder. Amen. I will be hanging around for at least another